What if I told you that right now, while you're watching this video, there's a second economy running beneath the one you see every day? An economy that doesn't care about your government's laws, doesn't need banks, and has survived every single empire collapse in human history. Here's the disturbing part. The bigger this hidden economy gets, the closer we are to complete financial breakdown. And if you don't understand how it works, you won't see the collapse coming until it's too late. Before we dig into this, hit that subscribe button right now, because on this channel, we uncover the financial secrets that history tried to bury, the patterns that repeat, the warnings that everyone ignores. And trust me, what you're about to learn will change how you see money forever. Let's start with something most people get completely wrong. When you hear black market, what comes to mind? Criminals, drugs, illegal activity? That's what they want you to think. But here's the reality that'll blow your mind. Black markets aren't evil mutations of capitalism. They're not bugs in the system. They are the system, with all the lies stripped away. Every empire in history has had one. Every single financial system, no matter how advanced or sophisticated, hides a shadow economy running beneath it. A place where the truth is traded quietly, while the official world lies to you out loud. Think about that for a second. Because when money stops working, when your currency becomes worthless paper, people don't just sit around waiting for the government to fix things. They don't wait for permission to feed their families. They build a second economy, an underground world that doesn't need laws, doesn't need banks, and definitely doesn't need central planners telling them what to do. This hidden economy runs on the three oldest currencies known to mankind: desperate need, fragile trust, and cold, hard gold. And here's what economists will never admit to you. The black market isn't some criminal underworld. It's capitalism with its mask off. It's the free market without the public relations department making it look pretty. Let me show you exactly how this works. Germany, 1923. Picture this. You wake up in January and a loaf of bread costs 250 marks. That's expensive, but you can handle it. You go to work, you get paid, life continues. Now fast forward to November of that same year. That same loaf of bread? 200 million marks. Read that again. 200 million marks for one loaf of bread. The German mark wasn't just inflating. It wasn't gradually losing value. It was literally evaporating before people's eyes, like water on hot concrete. Money became so worthless that families would burn stacks of banknotes just to heat their homes. Why? Because buying actual coal cost more than the cash was as kindling. Children in the streets played with bricks made of bundled cash, not because they were rich, because the money was more useful as toys than as currency. Think about how insane that is. Think about what has to break in a society for literal money to become children's building blocks. The government kept saying it was temporary. Keep using the mark, trust the system, we'll fix this soon. But the people, they knew better. They stopped saving in marks immediately. Instead, they saved in anything real, anything tangible. Gold coins, silver, foreign currency from more stable countries. Even cigarettes became a store of value. Here's how bad it got. A single gold wedding ring could feed an entire family for a week, maybe longer. Paper money literally became wallpaper. I'm not speaking metaphorically. People actually wallpapered their homes with worthless banknotes because wallpaper was more expensive than the cash. This is the first law of economic collapse. When belief dies, the black market takes over. When people stop believing in the official currency, they don't stop trading, they don't stop living, they simply create a new system overnight. But Weimar Germany wasn't an isolated incident. This same pattern repeated itself across war-torn Europe like a virus spreading from country to country. Governments everywhere started rationing food, medicine, and fuel. They called it fairness. They called it equality. They said everyone would share the burden together. Sounds noble, right? Here's the problem. Fairness doesn't survive scarcity. It just doesn't. In occupied Paris during World War II, coffee became illegal contraband. Let that sink in. Coffee, the thing you probably drank this morning without even thinking about it. Sugar became a luxury item worth more than jewelry. And penicillin? That life-saving medicine was treated like a miracle drug, reserved only for those who could pay in gold or trade favors that we probably don't want to talk about on a family-friendly YouTube channel.
Soldiers met civilians in dark back rooms and shadowy cafes. They traded military uniforms for gasoline, diamonds for food, information for safety. The government called these people criminals, traitors, black marketeers, but the starving families called them something else: essential workers. And here's the second law of collapse that you need to understand. Legality and morality never collapse at the same speed. What's illegal and what's wrong become two completely different things when survival is on the line. Look at the Warsaw Ghetto. Black market traders risked execution every single day just to smuggle bread to starving families. These weren't criminals. These were heroes operating in a world where doing the right thing had become illegal. The state hung some of them as examples, but the people kept trading because the alternative was death anyway. Now let's fast forward to the Cold War, because this is where things get really interesting. The Soviet Union claimed to have done something no empire in history had ever accomplished. They said they'd completely abolished free markets. No more capitalism, no more private trade. Everything controlled by the people's government for the people's benefit. Sounds perfect, right? A worker's paradise. Except everyone in the Soviet Union knew someone who could get things. Need a refrigerator? That'll be 3 bottles of vodka. Need car parts? A carton of Marlboro cigarettes will do nicely. Blue jeans, actual American Levi's, became currency. Think about how crazy that is. Pants. Denim pants were more valuable than the official Soviet ruble because they proved you had access to Western luxury. They were worth more than socialist equality could ever offer. But here's the part that's absolutely hilarious. Even the elites, the Communist Party leaders who publicly condemned capitalism and preached about the evils of the West, even they used the same black market networks. The people's government had private stores stocked with foreign goods that regular citizens could never access. Party officials' wives bought French perfumes smuggled in through Finland, while their husbands gave speeches about proletarian sacrifice and the superiority of the Soviet system. The hypocrisy was stunning. Communism didn't fail because the Soviet Union was poor. It failed because the system had to pretend the black market didn't exist while simultaneously relying on it to function. That's the third law. The louder a government condemns the black market, the more it secretly relies on it. Now let's jump to Latin America, because this is where the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Argentina, 2001. People wake up one morning and discover the banks have frozen all deposits. Imagine that. You go to bed with money in your account. You wake up and you can't access a single peso of it. Overnight, millions of citizens became broke. Not because they spent their money, not because they made bad decisions, but because the government decided their money wasn't theirs anymore. So what happened? The blue dollar became Argentina's real heartbeat, the actual economy. People started exchanging money in alleyways, on street corners, at nail salons, in coffee shops. Everyone knew someone who knew the real rate, and that rate changed twice a day, sometimes more. The official peso exchange rate that the government published? A complete joke, propaganda. The underground exchange rate? That was survival. That was reality. But Venezuela took it even further, to a level that sounds like dystopian fiction. Inflation didn't just get bad, it turned absolutely grotesque, nightmare fuel. People carried backpacks, actual backpacks full of cash just to buy basic groceries. And even with a backpack full of money, they often still couldn't afford what they needed. So they evolved, they adapted, they turned to gold dust. Yes, you heard that right, actual gold dust. Ordinary people measured gold dust on kitchen scales and traded it in plastic bags at street markets. This wasn't ancient history. This was the 21st century. People with smartphones were trading gold dust like medieval merchants. The Venezuelan government condemned it, of course. They called it illegal, criminal. They threatened anyone caught participating. And then they quietly used the exact same system to fund themselves. You can't make this up. This is the painful irony that every government in history repeats. They condemn the black market publicly while depending on it privately. Now here's what most people don't understand about black markets. They don't just move goods from point A to point B. They do something far more important. They keep the illusion of order alive. Think about it. Black markets feed soldiers when supply lines break down. They fuel trucks when official distribution fails. They get medicine to the sick when bureaucracy moves too slowly. They do what official systems can't. They actually work. During World War II, Allied officers bought contraband fuel from the same smugglers they were supposed to be arresting. They had to. The official supply chain couldn't keep up. In post-war Italy, the mafia's distribution network was more efficient than the government's, by a lot. They moved food, supplies, and reconstruction materials faster than any official program. Were they criminals? By definition, yes. Were they also keeping society functioning? Also yes. This is the uncomfortable truth. The underground economy has always been civilization's emergency generator. When the official system fails, the black market keeps the lights on. And throughout all of this, across every collapse, every crisis, every empire's fall, one thing remains constant: gold. Gold is the battery that powers the black market. It's the ultimate backup system. Why? Because gold is the only money that doesn't require belief. It doesn't need you to trust a government. It doesn't need a central bank promising to maintain its value. It doesn't ask for permission from anyone. Gold doesn't vanish when stock markets crash. It doesn't freeze when governments panic. It doesn't evaporate when policies change. 1 ounce of gold in Berlin has the same value as 1 ounce in Beirut or Beijing. It means the same thing everywhere: autonomy, freedom, options. That's why every ideology that has tried to replace gold eventually crawls back to it with its tail between its legs. When the Catholic Church banned charging interest in the Middle Ages, calling it a sin, what happened? Florentine bankers hid gold behind created exchange contracts and kept lending anyway. When the Soviets outlawed private wealth and proclaimed money itself would eventually disappear, what did the elites do? They hoarded Western gold coins in secret safes. When modern central banks mock gold as a barbarous relic, an outdated dinosaur from humanity's primitive past, what do they actually do? They buy record tons of it, massive quantities. Why the contradiction? Because deep down, beneath all the economic theories and monetary policy speeches, they know the truth. When paper dies, gold survives. It always has, it always will. So let's go deeper. How does a black market actually form? It starts small, almost innocent. Someone trades a pack of cigarettes for some sugar. A mechanic fixes a car in exchange for fuel instead of cash. A pharmacist sells extra antibiotics off the books to someone who really needs them. These seem like minor transactions, just neighbors helping neighbors, right? But then networks start forming, brokers emerge, smugglers find routes, middlemen connect buyers and sellers. Layer by layer, transaction by transaction, the illegal economy grows until it becomes the only economy that actually functions. And here's what makes it so brutally effective. It's honest. Prices don't rise because some bureaucrat in an office decided they should. They rise because of real supply and real demand. Desperation meets scarcity, and the market finds its price. It's Adam Smith's invisible hand with a gun in the room. No sentimentality, no fairness, just raw economic reality. Who profits from this? The same people who always do. Those with access to goods, those with information about where to find things, those with courage to take risks. Who suffers? Those who still believe the official story. Those who trust that the government will fix things. Those who follow the rules while everyone else adapts. Every black market is a classroom, and its first lesson is absolutely brutal. Trust is the most expensive currency of all. But black markets don't just help societies survive collapse, they leave permanent scars. When an entire society learns to trade in shadows, it stops trusting daylight. It fundamentally changes how people think. After Weimar, Germany became obsessed with preventing inflation. That trauma birthed decades of fiscal discipline. The fear became embedded in the culture itself. After the Soviet Union collapse, Russia transformed into a gangster economy.
Why? Because an entire population had learned that every law had a price, that rules were just suggestions, that connections mattered more than merit. And in Latin America, entire generations learned to measure their government's honesty not by what politicians said, but by the price of the dollar on the street. When the official rate and the street rate matched, you had an honest government. When they diverged, you knew someone was lying. The shadow economy doesn't just reflect collapse, it shapes what comes next. It rewires morality. It creates a new type of citizen, skeptical, cunning, street smart, fluent in survival. Now here's the part that makes Western viewers uncomfortable. You might be thinking, okay, this is all interesting history, but it can't happen here. We're too advanced, too stable, too regulated. But I've got news for you. It's already happening. Right now. When Canada froze bank accounts during the trucker protests,
What did the world witness? A polite, civilized version of capital controls. The government decided whose money was acceptable and whose wasn't. When the European Union introduced digital currency frameworks, they promised transparency and efficiency. Translation: programmable money. Money that can be controlled, restricted, and yes, frozen with the click of a button. When inflation hit the Western world hard, politicians called it temporary. Just like Weimar Germany. Just like every government in history facing currency collapse. Translation: it's permanent if you're poor. Control is being rebranded as convenience. Surveillance is being sold as security. Dependency is being marketed as modernity. And just like every other empire before, the more control they try to impose, the faster the black market grows underneath. Because here's the ultimate truth. You can outlaw trade, but you can't outlaw human need. The modern black market doesn't happen in dark alleys anymore. It's not guys in trench coats exchanging briefcases. It's online, it's encrypted, it's digital. Encrypted messaging apps in Nigeria are moving dollars faster than traditional banks ever could. Peer-to-peer cryptocurrency swaps in Argentina happen 24/7, bypassing the official banking system entirely. Offshore stablecoins trade across Southeast Asia in volumes that would shock you. It's the same human instinct that's existed for thousands of years. Create an economy that can't be frozen. Build a system that doesn't require permission. People aren't rebelling. They're not trying to overthrow anything. They're just adapting, surviving, finding solutions. That's the quiet revolution of the 21st century, sovereignty without permission. And here's the beautiful irony. While governments lecture their citizens about financial crime and the dangers of the underground economy, central banks are quietly hoarding the oldest illegal asset of them all, gold. They're not diversifying their reserves, they're hedging against their own systems. Because the black market always starts with ordinary citizens trying to survive, but it ends with elites realizing their own system is fragile. Once they understand that the official economy might fail, they start playing by the underground rules too. This is why studying black markets isn't about crime, it's about clarity. Black markets reveal what every empire tries desperately to hide, the exact moment when trust disappears. They're the canary in the coal mine, the warning system that never lies. The black market isn't the enemy of the official system, it's the mirror showing the system's failure. Every government that loses credibility creates its own replacement, one transaction at a time. The official economy measures control. How much power does the government have? How many rules can they enforce? But the black market measures truth. What do things actually cost? What do people actually value? What will they risk everything to obtain? And when those two lines cross, when the underground economy becomes larger than the official one, collapse isn't coming. It's already here. You're just living in the lag time before everyone realizes it. So here's what I want you to do right now. Ask yourself this question and be honest with your answer. If your government froze your money tomorrow morning, what would you do? If your bank limited withdrawals to $100 a week, how would you survive? If your salary lost half its purchasing power overnight, what would you trade with?
Because that answer, that thing you just thought of, that's your real economy. That's the world beneath the spreadsheet, the reality under the official numbers. And history's verdict has never changed across thousands of years and hundreds of empires. The official money always dies first. The black market follows close behind, keeping people alive through the transition. And gold? Gold never leaves. It's always there, waiting patiently, surviving every collapse, ready for those who understood the lesson. If this video gave you a new perspective on money, on history, on what might be coming, then hit that subscribe button right now. Because history has all the answers we need. The patterns repeat. The warnings are clear. I'll show you where to look. I'm the monetary archaeologist, digging up the financial truths that time tried to bury. And trust me, we're just getting started.